next segment of our AP Euro review is on the age of exploration and discovery. And let's step back a little bit, okay? Going back to the Romans. The spice trade goes way back, where the Romans got spices. They didn't really know where from. They came from India, but they went through the Middle East, went through a lot of other people, went through Egypt, and then finally got to Italy. Now, as you can imagine, every time that these spices changed hands, somebody else wanted to mark it up. Okay, like today you can go buy cinnamon and sugar and all that kind of stuff, from the store, and it's not that expensive. Well, why not? Because of the age of exploration and discovery. All of this stuff would have been very expensive. You wouldn't have eaten any cinnamon, sugar, pepper, anything like that. You would have eaten a very bland diet before this time if you were European, unless you were a member of some sort of high nobility, lots of money. By the time this stuff got to Europe, it was way marked up beyond, anything that anybody could have imagined there in India in the East. In the late medieval period, you see these trade routes. Of course, a lot of things being dominated here by the Italians who were involved in commerce, which, of course, supplied the Renaissance with money. And if you wanted to go to China and get silk, you had to take a land route to China from Europe. So you had to go all the way out there, and this could be, could be very expensive once it was marked up. Also, that Silk Road, that was a long way. You could be ambushed on that thing, lots of things could happen to you. All right, but once you were done, you could get really, really rich. But there are some technological advancements that people are making. First of all, in cartography and map making, the Mercator projection. Those of you AP Human Geography students, free of charge for you. The Mercator projection, of course, designed for sailors. Okay, it's made to go sailing. It's not a map that you would look at if you weren't sailing. But this is going to help to explore, to find a sea route to get to India and China, to get to these spices. Okay, so you got the Mercator projection. You've got tools here for measuring not longitude but latitude, the compass, astrolabe, the cross staff, all of these things here that are making it easier to sail. If you can remember one or two of these, great, in case you have an FRQ on the age of exploration. Pick a few. Say, I'm going to remember those. Those are going to be my evidence. The caravel, okay, this is a new type of ship. Columbus had two caravels, the Nina and Pinta, I guess the La Nina or something like that. We learned the Nina when I was in elementary school in Louisiana. Probably not what they call it. But these are caravels. These are ships that can go into the ocean. The ocean is harder to sail in than just the Mediterranean or something like that. And so I've heard. And the 3 G's of exploration: God, glory, and gold. Of course, gold being the most important of these, okay? It's really all about the Benjamins at the end of it. But God, glory, and gold, the 3 G's. And so the Portuguese were the first to seek a route out there. Now, the Portuguese are going to go to the east, okay? Portuguese are going to go to the east, try to go around Africa. And so they've got some economic motivations. We've talked about the Ottomans taking over Constantinople. Well, now the trade that went through Constantinople is not controlled by Christians, but by Muslims. Oh, Christian Europe, you're a different religion than us. That'll be another $10. This is getting marked up even more. It's getting harder to trade. And the Portuguese are thinking, what if we could be the center of trade for Europe? Now, also, they've got some religious motivations. It's got Prester John, who is supposed to be some sort of Christian king way out there in India. Of course, they did find some Christians in India and then came to the conclusion that they were heretics and persecuted them. But they were looking for this Prester John. Prince Henry the Navigator. Now, he didn't really navigate in the sense that he was on the ship, but he did sponsor, these ships. He had a university and made this possible. And as you can see, the Portuguese are trying to get around Africa and are discovering all of these new islands on the way. And so they would go a little ways and they'd realize, bless you, that okay, Africa, no. And then, of course, they're eventually going to get around that, and they're going to see, like, oh, you got to do that all over again. Africa's a lot bigger than they thought it would be. Now, Bartholomew Diaz, Diaz gets, to the Cape of Good Hope, okay? So Diaz gets there and finally realizes that this is the southernmost tip of Africa, so the Cape of Good Hope, because now there is good hope that we can reach India. Africa does have a southern tip. And then keep in mind, so you got Diaz that gets the Cape of Good Hope, Vasco da Gama, who makes the first voyage to India and establishes Portuguese settlements at Calicut and Goa. As I've told you, I've got a friend, Ryan Fernandez, in case he ever watches, whose family is from Goa, which, of course, they've, got a Portuguese last name, complete with an S at the end of it instead of a Z if they had been Spanish. But this is going to, even though Vasco da Gama just has one ship that he brings back, he pays for his voyage several times over with this ship full of spices. So now all of the middlemen have been eliminated now that a route to India has been established. Of course, Columbus, haven't really gotten there yet, but y'all should know about Columbus. We got a day named after him and all that, right? You should know that. Treaty of Tordesillas, you could see this is one of our treaties that you've got in your review guide, which of course you can access at tomrichey.net. So the Treaty of Tordesillas established a line of demarcation where the Pope said, okay, the Spanish will get everything to the west of that line. The Portuguese will get everything to the east. Now, of course, they had no idea at the time how much land was over there that the Spanish were going to get. But that is why the Portuguese today, Portuguese is spoken in Brazil, and Spanish is spoken in the rest of Latin America. And so, this is basically what they knew at the time. It's like, okay, there's Brazil. I called it, basically Cabral Lake sees Brazil and points to it like that's ours, and doesn't realize it's a whole continent. That's not just an island. Amerigo Vespucci is the guy that figured out that there was this is a new world, or mundus novus, if we want to be humanist and use fancy Latin terms to do that. And so that's why this place is called America. This guy from Florence who decides, like, hey, this is a new world. And so some map maker says, okay, let's call it America. As you can see here, people have really no idea what this thing looks like. This is somebody's attempt to draw America. Probably my daughter could do just about as good of a job being 3 years old. Helped her paint some monkeys this morning. That was fun. Diego's Bobos or something like that. She knew what they were. I was like, okay, great. Now, today, Portuguese is spoken in, of course, Portugal, in Brazil, Angola, and Mozambique, Portuguese colonies, and also a few other places here and there. So, we see the legacy of the Age of Exploration there. Now, Ferdinand Magellan is sailing from Spain, and he is the first to circumnavigate the globe. Of course, the Spanish are sailing west, whereas the Portuguese sailing east. Think PE. When you go to PE, Portuguese, east. Okay, Spanish, west. Okay, so PE. That just came to me just now. So, yeah. All right, so if it works, it works. Now, the legacy of the Age of Exploration, these are the new trade routes. Like, wow, whew. That's a lot of trade, okay? Now, because of the Age of Exploration, we've got sugar, we've got pepper, we've got cinnamon, and all those other exotic spices that had not been available to Europeans before. Of course, the Columbian Exchange is what we get from the Americas. All of these things coming back and forth, which we'll also talk about in U.S. history. But here's the legacy, that we have more stuff, and the stuff is cheaper. And that, my students, is the Age of Exploration.